This is the story of the biggest struggle I've ever had to overcome in my life. Over the past few years, I've watched the people I met in college get their dream jobs. Character designer for Disney, storyboard artist for Netflix, splash artist for Riot. They design the movies and shows I watch and the games I play. Some of them instead chose to go it alone and create wildly successful businesses. But when it comes to me, it's been almost 13 years since I decided art was my passion, and I've been in a constant struggle to get myself to draw ever since. It should be an easy thing to pursue your passion, but I find that you'll slog through a job you hate before you ever fight for your own dreams. To do that, you have to get frustrated enough with your own life that you require change. Today is September 12th, 2023, and in 22 days, I'll be turning 35. I'm not here to tell you a story of success where I'm finally a highly skilled artist, because I'm not yet, but I believe I've done most of the work I need to finally cross the last hurdle to the finish line of professional artist. I promise that if you stick with me through this video, you'll discover how to navigate the roller coaster of thoughts and emotions that hold you back from accomplishing your dreams of becoming a professional artist. First, you need some context, so let's take things back in time a little bit. I have vague memories of drawing in a sketchbook in high school, but it never registered to me as something I could pursue. Like many people at the time, I thought you had to have raw skill to become an artist. It wasn't something you could learn, it was a gift you were born with, like running or singing. You have a range of improvement, but there's a natural skill there that can't be taught or overcome by any kind of training or practice. It was in college where I discovered just how wrong I was. Just as I was about to graduate in an entirely different major, I took an elective in art, a 3D modeling class. We used Maya to make simple objects, and it was just incredibly fun to play around with. And through this course, I discovered the first digital artist I had ever seen, Charlie Bowater, and I still love her work today. Through her, I discovered that you can, in fact, learn how to draw and paint. You don't have to be born talented. I will never forget that moment. I called my parents super nervous as I was about to ask them the most ridiculous question. Could I quit my major and pursue art right as I'm about to graduate? It shouldn't have been surprising. I have incredibly supportive parents. But to me, who was scared shitless that I had just found my calling and it could be gone before I even try to pursue it, I was nervous as hell. I did everything I could not to cry during that phone call. That was the day I became an artist. You'll notice I didn't say aspiring artists. I see a lot of this on social media, especially in your bios. This is the first lesson of how to navigate this art journey. When you decide this is your passion, you're an artist from day one. The moment you start to learn art, you're gaining experience that other people wish that they had. Not only do you do yourself a disservice to them by making yourself somehow less than an artist, you do a disservice to yourself. You're mentally putting yourself down before you've even had a chance to make any progress. It's the premise of a growth mindset, and there are studies that show that if you believe you'll grow, you will, and if you don't, you won't. You'll actually stunt your growth by thinking that you're this aspiring artist and not a real one. One of the ways you can do that, believe that you're a real artist, is to show yourself the journey is achievable. It's real. That's what Charlie Bowater's work did for me. It was something that I could achieve through hard work. It wasn't just talent. I could do this. But as you know, if you've tried this for even a little while, that's not enough to keep you going. There's a reason why I'm not a professional artist after drawing for 13 years. After going to 6 art schools and being taught by some of the best teachers that are out there. Art is my passion, but it doesn't change the fact that there's a constant struggle to get myself to draw. When I was first learning to draw, I was like a kid, just pure excitement and joy, no matter if it turned out good or bad. But it wasn't long until I started to learn what it took to become a professional artist, and this unsettling pressure started to sink in. It wasn't enough to just learn how to draw. I had to find the most efficient way to progress. I spent more time planning what I was going to do instead of actually doing it. And when it finally came time to draw and paint, this fear started to trickle in. First, you might have looked at me and thought I was just lazy. I'm sure that's what some people thought. Studies show that laziness is a manifestation of procrastination, and you procrastinate because it's your way of coping with challenging emotions. emotions. Anxiety, insecurity, self-doubt. These are all things that are going to hold you back from doing the one thing that you want to do. I listened to this podcast last week that talked about resistance. Resistance is what holds you back from accomplishing your dreams. The bigger the resistance, the bigger the dream. In a weird way, you know how much you want to do something by how much you choose to avoid it. It's fucking scary to put yourself out there and learn something you know you're going to be bad at. It's so scary that I've had to deal with this pressure for over a decade. It's like a chronic illness. It's debilitating, and it gets in the way of any real progress that you might make for yourself. It's not like I haven't improved at art at all. I've come a long way, but it's taken a much longer time than it ever needed to, and I developed an extremely toxic relationship with my art, to the point that I stopped drawing for a year. Couldn't do it anymore. I didn't see a way forward. It was drowning, and there was no one who could help me but myself. That's the thing that no one tells you. No one's coming to save you from yourself. No one is gonna force you to draw, hold a gun to your head. You have to accomplish this journey on your own. You can have all the support from friends, family, a community of artists, and it does help. But at the end of the day, it's you that has to sit down and draw. You have to struggle and fight, make bad drawings, challenge yourself, cry at your terrible work, laugh at your silly doodles. Just you. It's a sobering moment when you realize it, but the fear is still with you. So the question is, gripped by this fear, how did I get myself to draw? At first, I buried myself into my classes and studied. There's a certain edge that being in a real classroom can give you. Being in front of a real teacher and other students actually made an impact. I knew the teacher would judge me if I didn't do the work, my friends would too, but I also wanted to be as good as them, better than them. I wanted to be the best. It helped me ignore some of that fear, and for large blocks of time, I was able to apply myself. I learned and improved a lot, but it was always just enough to get by. I would procrastinate with TV shows, video games, watching YouTube videos. I even went to panels and got really motivated, but by the time I got home, I wouldn't want to do anything. Part of me felt like I couldn't do it, and the other was too afraid to try. But it was never quite enough to kill my dream entirely. I held on to that spark that ignited when I first fell in love with art, when I saw Charlie Bowater's work. I couldn't get rid of the dream of becoming a professional artist, but I also couldn't apply myself long enough to get really good at it. So I coasted, went to 6 different schools, had the best teachers, got really lucky with some amazing programs. I absorbed a ton of knowledge, but rarely put it to use long enough to make the progress that I would see my peers make. But I still always fought for that dream, except that became really hard when my classes came to an end. I was actually done with school this time. I was tired of it. I was taking classes and learning things I already knew, but just hadn't applied myself to. It started to feel pointless. I had the knowledge and my studies were good, but anytime I tried to draw anything for myself, it came out like garbage. I was frustrated and lost, so I stopped for a year. For the first time, I gave up on my dream. The cure to crushing anxiety and self-doubt? Love. Meeting my wife was like being reborn. I was happier and healthier. It's still a surreal experience to love someone so much and have it returned even stronger. But it was through her that I found my way back to art. I'm not here to tell you to find a partner to fix all your problems, although it will certainly help. But it was more about having someone in my corner and someone that I really wanted to improve for. That made all the difference. I was passionate about art again, and I was determined to get it right this time. But not only that, I wanted to help people avoid my mistakes and not go through the same struggles that I did. So I started drawing, painting again, and then I started researching about how to learn better and faster. I used TikTok as it was getting popular to spread my message, and it resonated with people. I realized I really wasn't alone in feeling this way. And it was through you where I discovered that the path I was following was flawed. I wanted to get better faster, but what I really needed was a healthier relationship with my art. What you want is to get yourself to draw, but what you need is a way to sit down and draw consistently, to approach art with a healthier and happier mindset. So I switched gears. Not only did it resonate with you, but it also started to improve my own art. That's when I knew that I had found it. This is what was missing from my studies, from all those art classes. This is how you can make it through your own art journey, and this is how I'll make it through mine. Most people focus so much on the drawing part of the art journey that they forget there's a mental side to it too. And if you can't get over your own internal self, you'll never get to the physical part of actually drawing and painting. Or like me, you'll apply yourself just enough to get by, but never enough to really improve to get to that level of professional. Coming to terms with failure is one of the first things you do as an artist, even if you don't realize it because you suck too much to see how bad you are. I like to say that you have to get comfortable with failure, but really it's about becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. Until all the basics start working for you, which is arguably the moment you become a professional artist, you're gonna be trying to improve on something every time you sit down to draw or paint. You'll always be challenging yourself, and it's always uncomfortable. Yeah, you're gonna fail, but you're also gonna learn a lot and find success. And damn, does it feel good every time you get a win, like killing a boss in Elden Ring. It's well earned and very rewarding. The tricky part obviously comes with navigating that discomfort. What most people do is they take on challenges that are too much for them and they just quit. The discomfort is so huge that there's too much resistance, and rather than simplifying the challenge, they just avoid it altogether and never end up trying. If you saw my last video, you know we can avoid this by moving from general to specific. If you're tackling something new, don't make it so hard that it becomes frustrating. Find a way to simplify it before you dive deeper into the subject you're trying to learn. If you're capable of drawing in this discomfort, you can turn drawing and painting into a habit. The key is consistency, and of the two, it's probably the hardest to get a hold on. When I was doing work on myself away from art, I read this book called Atomic Habits, and it was pretty life-changing. I was able to start new habits in exercise, diet, and even in my art. All you had to do was start small and be consistent. It gave me incredible confidence to keep going. I still enjoy my games and TV shows, all the distractions we love, but I also apply myself to drawing and painting. And because it's a habit, there's little to no resistance. It takes time, but it works. There was, however, one problem with my consistency. I would still miss days that I planned to draw, sometimes for large blocks of time if things in my life were getting too chaotic. And it's okay not to draw every day, but if you feel like you have to start over every time that you sit down to draw, it gets really discouraging. So I realized there was something a little bit critical missing. During my time away from art, I realized how much time I had spent studying instead of drawing from my imagination. I pursued art with the mindset that I would get good eventually and create the things that I wanted to create in the future. It didn't really feel worthwhile to me to create something that I cared about now if it was just going to come out terrible. And by doing that, I screwed myself over. There's this false assumption that if you study really hard, you'll absorb all the knowledge and just have a built-in visual library. That's not how memory and learning work. If you want to draw from imagination, you have to practice it. Drawing from imagination started to help me create my own ideas and help me learn more efficiently. I started this project around bleach. If you've tuned in to any of my live streams, you've probably seen me working on it, and I found that that is the critical missing piece, finding a project that you enjoy and want to pursue. Now I don't just have a habit for consistency, I have a project that I'm pursuing that excites me. I found that consistency doesn't mean much if you have nothing to pursue but an empty plan. You need something concrete that you can tackle now that excites you. What motivates you more? Some amorphous project in the future that you have nothing tangible to attach to, or the things that you're excited about now? That's what you should pursue. One of the most important takeaways from this journey is sometimes you just need to get your hands dirty, even if it all goes to shit. Because it's only through doing these things where you're actually going to solve problems. That's not just a lesson about how to get better at drawing or painting, but it's a good one to approach life. I struggled through art and I felt lost, and then I built myself up in a different way. I worked on myself as a human and got comfortable with myself outside of art. You know, as artists, we tie so much of our value to the quality of our work, and it's one of the most toxic things that we do. I was able to love myself myself, and I drew in one of the most loving, beautiful souls I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And through all of that, I was able to rekindle my relationship with art and approach it in this new, beautiful, positive way. I always say at the end of every episode to have a happy and healthy creative process, because it's what I've found for myself and I want to pass it on to everyone. But I don't mean that you're going to be happy all the time or everything's going to go your way. It's my way of saying find comfort in yourself. See the value in yourself so you can feel comfortable sharing yourself and your work with the world. It's freedom to create, to love, to share, and it's beautiful. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed my story. If you can relate to any part of it, I'd love to hear about your story in the comments below. It's nice to know you're not alone in this, and it feels good to share. Thank you for watching, and have a happy and healthy creative process. Come on. Good boy.